The Sacramento Kings have traded Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, and a future first-round pick to Atlanta for Kevin Huerter.
Red Velvet. There it is. Uh-oh. 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 Not on Buddy. Not on Buddy. Step back. Ooh, got him. Oh, my gosh. Off the bench. 25 points. 11 rebounds. 4 assists. 5 assists in that game. Look at this time. Bam. In transition. My goodness. And the pick. My goodness.
See the turnover numbers. The Kings are down by 2.
Just one more. Just one more.
And these straight line drives.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kings Court podcast presented to you by RateCrushers.com. If you guys are looking for any type of insurance, whether that be motorcycle, car, commercial, any type of insurance you need, the brokers over at RateCrushers.com have you guys covered. Let them know that the Kings Court sent you. I appreciate everyone's insight on my last show. They said that the microphone was too low. Maybe I was talking too quiet. But to all those new subscribers that are down in that chat, letting me know, like, hey, bro, you know, your microphone was a little low. Can you please turn it up? Because I have my volume on so loud and I can barely hear you. Other than that, fire takes. I want to say thank you all so much for all that support. I greatly appreciate it. But that's not why we're here, is it? That's not why we're here. The Sacramento Kings are out here making moves, guys. They're out here making moves, addressing a clear need heading into this offseason, which was the acquisition of three-point shooting. Day one, free agency tips off, and the Sacramento Kings go out and not just sign a shooter, but a former teammate of their star, De'Aaron Fox. This has to be a clear picture to me that the Sacramento Kings are finally moving toward building around Fox. This is the first time I've ever seen it. They went out and got Domantas Sabonis, the best player he's ever played with on their team. Then they go out first day of the offseason, go and sign his former teammate in Kentucky, a scorer and a really good role player for the Los Angeles Lakers last year, and Malik Monk to a 2-year, $19 million deal to now be in Sacramento. And then today, and I've been hearing for a couple days now that a trade was coming. I didn't know what it was. I just heard a trade was coming. I assumed it was going to still be a John Collins type of deal. I assumed maybe it was going to be a Tobias Harris type of deal after they rescinded the offer to Dante DiVincenzo. But no, they go out, they give up 2 expiring contracts and a future first-round pick, which I'll go over the full entire deal here in just a moment. And they go out and acquire Red Velvet. Red Velvet. One of, if the only, I think, ginger in the NBA. And Kevin Huerter, a true shooter out there, a 6'7" shooter from the Atlanta Hawks. So, just so everyone knows the full package of the deal, if you guys are just now missing it, the Sacramento Kings have made the acquisition of Kevin Huerter today to the Atlanta Hawks. They gave up Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, a 2024 lottery-protected first-round pick, if that does not convey. So if the Kings are back in the lottery and they get to keep their 2024 pick, they give up a 2025 pick that I believe is, I'm trying to pull it up so I don't speak out of turn here, because Bobby Marks had it. I believe it's going to be a top 5 protected first-round pick. And then if that doesn't convey, it turns into 2 second-round picks. So here it is right here. It was from Chris Krishner. So the lottery protection in 2024, it's top 12 protected in 2025. So if in 2024 it doesn't convey over and the Kings are still in the lottery, they get to keep their pick in 2024. So then in 2025, if they're it's top 12 protected. So as long as they're not in the top 12, the Atlanta Hawks will get that pick. If they are in the top 12, it's damn near like being in the lottery. They get to keep their pick in 2025. And then in 2026, it's top 10 protected. If none of those convey, this first-round pick turns into 2 second-round picks. Fingers crossed that this type of acquisition, as well as getting Monk, can keep them at least moving toward getting out of the lottery. There still has to be more moves made. Obviously, addressing the three-point shooting was a clear need for the Sacramento Kings after having no shooting last season after giving up Buddy Hield in that Tyrese Halliburton deal. But now they've made it clear they go get Malik Monk, who can be their scorer off the bench, and I love him next to Davion Mitchell. The size coming off the bench right now is a little bit tiny. I mean, I think Davion's 6'2", 6'3". Malik Monk is 6'3", but the athleticism from both those guys I think allows them to be a little bit bigger. And then obviously Mitchell's defense, he seems to be able to guard bigger guys. So that, I mean, I guess that's the benefit of having those two specialists on your team. I mean, Malik Monk is just a true scorer when he has the ball in his hand. So I do like that there. I think my big question now is what happens with Barnes. Harrison Barnes is the next clear question for me, because with moves like this, not going out and getting a John Collins, obviously there's no Tobias Harris deal in place now. After giving up 2 expiring contracts, I think you're only down to Barnes and is it Harkless with the last expiring deal that the Kings have on their roster. So what's still available for them? Who could they go after and go get? Is there someone still in free agency, TJ Warren, that could still be available for them to go get TJ Warren that is still relatively cheap? That could still be a guy. There's also a player that we're still not talking about, and he's an unrestricted free agent as well. Could they bring back Jeremy Lamb on a 1 year? That's the big question, because I posted my projected starting lineup for the Sacramento Kings after making this trade, and I said that it's right away. I think it's clear. It's going to be De'Aaron Fox. It's going to be Kevin Huerter. It's going to be Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis. Obviously, Murray's going to have to earn that spot. I think that there's a pathway for Chimezie Metu to earn the respect of a Mike Brown to become the starter because of his defensive presence and just the improvement that we've seen from Metu. But Murray's three-point shooting, as long as it translates over, I think it's his job to lose. But I think Metu's going to get plenty of minutes this upcoming season after losing out on Damian Jones going to the Lakers. But I also heard people saying that, what if you start Huerter at the 3? Huerter can be your 3. He can be your small forward. Look, he's 6'7". He has the height to play small forward. But he's not a small forward. He can barely guard 2s. He's not a great defender. Oh, we're just going to keep it 100. He's not a great defender, but you never know. I mean, we all said that Andrew Wiggins wasn't that good of a defender. Look how good Andrew Wiggins looked during the NBA Finals and what Mike Brown was able to do by putting his system in place. But this was a huge acquisition for the Kings to get this type of shooting next to him. On top of that, he's locked under contract. He starts his 4-year rookie extension, I believe today, July 1st. It started at midnight. So his $65 million extension, it begins today. The Kings lock in for 4 years. And look, I think it's clear that what they're trying to do is build a team for their current timeline. Fox being 24, 25, Sabonis turning 25, has 2 years left before he has to sign that extension. It wouldn't be a surprise to me if he signs that extension this summer. That wouldn't be a surprise to me at all. They're clearly finally building around De'Aaron Fox. And that is something that you have to applaud Monty McNair for. That is definitely something you have to applaud Monty McNair for, because in the past, we haven't seen this yet at all. This is the best team De'Aaron Fox has had just purely on these 2 moves. Just purely on these 2 moves, the Kings have already gotten better. Now, is this a playoff team? Based on what we've seen in the West, that's a no. Based on what we've seen on the West, that is a no. I want to thank everyone that is joining here on the Kings Court podcast with me, your host, Vince Miracle. You guys can follow me on all social media platforms of @VMCenter. Again, this show is brought to you by RateCrushers.com. If you guys are looking for any type of insurance, let the agents over there at Rate Crushers crush that rate for you, beating the competition by up to 35%. I will be taking phone calls today. I'm going to be on for a little while today, just giving my thoughts on free agency and everything like that. We could talk more than just the Sacramento Kings. We could talk about all the moves out there. I mean, think about this. Malcolm Brogdon is now going to the Boston Celtics for damn near nothing. damn near nothing. They gave up Daniel Tice, Aaron Neesmith. The 2023 first-round pick is probably the biggest asset there in that trade. But losing nothing. And now the Celtics look real. They looked real last year, and they made it to the NBA Finals. But it is what it is. So let's start looking forward though for the Sacramento Kings while I have you guys here. But if you do want to call in, there is the link in the chat. You're feel free to call on in here and get your thoughts on the Kings, thoughts on the moves, any questions that you guys have, and let's just join the conversation. There's players out there still in free agency that I find interesting. Obviously, TJ Warren is one. I think TJ Warren is still a player that could help this team. The only problem is I don't want people to be so infatuated with the guy that hasn't played in 2 years. I don't see him being a true impact player in that way. Like he's not going to serve that Nick Batum role. That's not happening. It's not the Nick Batum role type of player. You just need someone that can come in there and fill the need of a Murray or fill the need of a Harrison Barnes. Because if you're starting both of them, which I expect the Kings to do, the Kings are expected to start Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray. What's after that? Like who do you sub in to give them time? Obviously, the Kings can look to just putting one in, one out, and swapping it out that way. And obviously, the death lineup for them is going to be a ton of shooting. I mean, you can do a lineup where you can see a Fox, Monk, Huerter, Barnes, or Murray with Sabonis. That's a possibility. I think you're going to see plenty of Richaun Holmes, Domantas Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, Monk or Huerter, and De'Aaron Fox. I think you're going to see plenty of that. Plenty. I was talking to somebody and they told me that Richaun Holmes isn't even garnishing that much value out there. His value is so low in the NBA that the Kings are probably going to keep him. So I don't know if there's that type of trade out on the table for them to go do another type of deal to get somebody else. But at the same time, Richaun Holmes is a great backup. If he's okay with going back to that role, Richaun Holmes behind Domantas Sabonis is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I like Richaun Holmes on this team. I would love to see at least the attempt of trying, since we didn't get to see it at all last year, to the attempt of trying a Holmes Sabonis lineup. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to me. I would love to see how that would work out. Harrison Barnes is still a question mark to me. I still think that there's deals out there for him. I don't want to see the Kings lose him for nothing after these types of deals, after getting a Monk, after getting a Huerter. I didn't know if John Collins was going to be in that Huerter deal. Like I said, I knew that there was a trade coming. I just didn't know what it was going to be. So to see that it was just Huerter, I still think it's a good deal. I'm leaning more towards the belief, though, that we're going to be seeing the Kings entering the season with Harrison Barnes on their team. And maybe at the trade deadline, you'll see something there. But the Kings gave a lot of their money, if not all of their money, to Malik Monk. So to make any more moves, it would have to be another small type of deal, a package to get them somewhere. And then the only other deal that I can think of in my mind is, can the Kings throw their name in the hat to be a part, not saying to be the team for it, but to be a part of the Kevin Durant to Phoenix type of deal, right? So look, I get it. Look, I'm not saying that the Kings are going to go get Kevin Durant. That's not what I'm saying at all. But is there any possible way the Kings can get Mikal Bridges in the deal? If the Nets are in this full-on, going full Armageddon, we're doing full tear-down rebuild, we're going to trade KD, we're going to trade Kyrie, we're going to start rebuilding around Ben Simmons, could they want more picks instead of the Bridges in return? Because you're going to think they're going to get Ayton and they're going to get Bridges. That's going to be in the deal. But can you pull away a Bridges? So here's the deal I still think that could potentially happen. Here's the deal that I think could still... This is in my head. Here we go. And I can't stop thinking about it because this would just make the team complete in my mind. It would make a clear role for Keegan Murray too. You give up Harrison Barnes to the Brooklyn Nets. It's an expiring contract. He's also a veteran. He can play there. He works next to Ben Simmons. He goes there. You give up 2 first-round picks also in this deal, and they're both going to go to... See, that's the one thing I got to know, though, is if these are protections are there, can the Kings still trade those picks? I'd have to look into this more. But you have to give up 2 first-round picks, and they would go to the Brooklyn Nets. Richaun Holmes would go to the Phoenix Suns, and in return, the Sacramento Kings will get Mikal Bridges and Joe Harris. That's the deal I would have in my mind. And obviously, the Suns would also get... So the Suns would get Kevin Durant and Richaun Holmes. The Sacramento Kings would get Joe Harris and Mikal Bridges. And the Brooklyn Nets would get essentially 4 to 5 first-round picks because the Suns are going to have to give up picks regardless. So to add Kings picks to it, I think just enhances the deal for the Nets just to be sitting on a boatload of picks. So I say 4 to 5 picks for them. They get Harrison Barnes. They get DeAndre Ayton. And the Kings would also throw in probably like another expiring, like a Metu or something, just to get the deal completely done and over with. And in return, obviously, the Kings get more shooting. And I think Mikal Bridges solidifies a role for a guy like Keegan Murray. Because my biggest issue with Keegan Murray, currently as it stands now, is I don't see him as a 3. I see his best role as a 4. He basically is what Harrison Barnes is as an old man. Obviously, Harrison Barnes is the better player right now. But just in terms of play style, he is a Harrison Barnes. He's a little bit slower. You don't really want him out on the perimeter. He's better just going up against guys like Jay Crowder, not necessarily guys like Chris Middleton. So that's essentially what I'm saying there. And we don't even know if he's really going to be that defense that he showed in college will translate over to the next level. So we still need to see that from him. That's where I'm kind of having my big question marks there. But if you bring in a Mikal Bridges, he does that type of acquisition solidifies a role for Keegan Murray where he can just be your starting 4 or he can develop into becoming your starting 4 and Mikal Bridges is your 3 because we've seen the defense that Bridges brings. No can do. And the chat says, go Monty, go. Keep it coming. No more depth still. That's true. It's depth still a problem. Chris Young, go after Jalen Smith and TJ Warren. Thing is, I don't think the Kings have any more money. They gave all of their money. They only had the MLE. I think they essentially gave all of their cap space to go after a Malik Monk. And here's a very interesting topic too. As I'm drinking my breakfast, and I had this discussion the other day, which is or yesterday I should say, when I got to see the deal get made. Is, do you think the Kings reached out to De'Aaron Fox about getting Malik Monk and getting that deal done? And if so, do you applaud that deal? I think you have to. You have to applaud that deal to go after a guy like Malik Monk because of just what he showed last season and how good he was. But then on top of that, like, the only reason why you would hate on the Kings to do that and saying that's a bad idea for them to reach out to their star who they are building this team around. The clear number 1 on this team right now is De'Aaron Fox. That the only reason why would be considered a bad thing is if there was other players available that were potentially better than Malik Monk and you passed on them just because your player wanted him. And we'll actually never really know. I don't think we'll ever really know that answer. But again, I think that is a very interesting conversation. Feel free, if you'd like, to join in the conversation down in the chat below. It's going to be here for just a little while longer. We have a few people here watching us live. I want to thank you all for watching. If you haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up button. I really do appreciate all of that stuff there. If you are arriving late and you were not able to see what the Kings have done during this early in free agency, day 2 of free agency, let me make it very clear from you with some slides as I start drinking my breakfast a little bit.
Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited 'cause we understood there's one perfect fit and
Sacramento Kings have traded Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, and a future first-round pick to Atlanta for Kevin
Love
Huerter.
that song.
Humble with the rebound. Fox had a good look at it. Instead, Kevin Huerter goes left hand off.
All right. Thank you guys for letting me drink my breakfast a little bit, kind of keeping my energy up and alive. Like I said, I do expect to be here for a little while today, talking about Kings basketball, talking about free agency, waiting to see if there are any more moves to be made. Feel free to join the conversation down in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you guys do see the link in the comment section, it says guest.ecam.live. You are more than welcome to call on in and continue this conversation. Ask any questions that you may have as we look on to free agency to see if the Kings will be making any more moves. Let's see here. I like the move so far. Would you keep or trade Barnes? What's his value? That's from Johnny.027. So yeah, I was talking about this just earlier. Like, I don't know. So this is my growing belief right now after a move like this, after seeing what the Kings have done up to this point. There was no deal for John Collins. They weren't able to capitalize on their leverage of the number 4 pick. They really wanted to get Keegan Murray. Fine. So that's already passed. We're not going to continue to keep addressing that over and over again. So now you're looking into free agency. It's obvious that they wanted to address 3-point shooting. That's the obvious thing that they needed to do. So if you look at 3-point shooting, they go get Monk. They go get Kevin Huerter. Big moves. Like the moves. Makes sense. But you still have this big expiring contract of $18 million in Harrison Barnes. Maybe the value of Harrison Barnes isn't as high as most would like, and I don't think it is. He's going to be that veteran. It's just, again, I think my biggest issue is seeing that I don't believe Keegan Murray to be a 3. I think we've seen it already as Harrison Barnes as your starting small forward. That doesn't make too much sense. That's not his, in today's NBA, that is not his position. So that doesn't work there either. You need a Mikal Bridges. That's why I thought you could use a Jeremy Grant if you were going to get a Keegan Murray. It would solidify a role because at least Jeremy Grant is capable of playing longer. He has a more lateral quickness. He's a better defender. Positionally, I think Harrison Barnes is actually the better defender. But in terms of being able to guard out on the perimeter, I think Jeremy Grant, just because of his lateral quickness, his ability to recover with his length, he's the better defender that you would like to have next to a Keegan Murray, or like I said, a Mikal Bridges. So that's why I brought up the fake trade I brought up earlier. I'd have to do more research, and if the Kings have made those types of deals, and if you guys missed it, again, there are protections on this pick, this future pick that the Kings gave up to acquire Kevin Huerter. There are protections on it. So again, if you guys missed it, they did trade away Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, and a future first-round pick. That future first-round pick is a 2024 lottery-protected first-round picks to the Atlanta Hawks to acquire Kevin Huerter. However, if they are in the lottery in 2024, they do get to keep their pick. Obviously, that's what the protection is. So that does move over to 2025, and in 2025, it is top 12 protected. They're going to be top 12 protected in 2025. If that does not convey, then in 2026, it is top 5 protected. And then if that doesn't convey over, it turns into 2 second-round picks. So the Atlanta Hawks are going to get 3 straight years of being able to acquire this first-round pick from the Sacramento Kings. And that's why I need to do my research into figuring out, can you still trade a pick if it's under protection through a different type of deal? Because if that is the case, I think the best deal for them is to wait and see where Kevin Durant goes. And if he goes to the Phoenix Suns, it just makes sense to me for the Kings to try and throw their name out there to try and to try and just give up more assets to try and get a Joe Harris or a Michael Bridges or both. So that's what I think. That's what I think is going to be for Harrison Barnes. I think, me personally, I think as of right now, as team currently constructed and everything that we've seen so far, I think there's a very, very strong possibility that Harrison Barnes is going to be on this Kings team moving forward. This is just after only 48 hours into free agency. I do think that the Sacramento Kings will be moving forward with Harrison Barnes as their starting small forward heading into next season, and a trade probably being at the trade deadline, unless you see where they're sitting in the standings at this point. And look, I'll be 100% honest with you guys. Even with these types of moves, the Kings didn't move. I mean, the Kings moved the needle in terms of roster construction. The team did move the needle in terms of, I think they'll be a little bit more competitive because of their type of play style. But at the same time, even though I moved that little motion forward up one, I have to take it back like a half knob because we don't know the type of offense that Mike Brown wants to run yet. I mean, we can look at the Cavs. We can look what he did there. We can look what he did with the Lakers and say maybe that's the type of offense that they're going to bring here. But it seems the every coach that has come here has said, oh, we want to push the ball. De'Aaron Fox. I mean, obviously, if you have a Ferrari, why not go full throttle in that thing? Put that pedal to the metal and let him run. That makes sense. But now you also have this big center that can pass as well. So it's going to be very interesting how Mike Brown utilizes this offense and what their plans are. Because you're not going to see him run a horn set. I don't think you're going to see too many more of those Buddy Hield handoff to any shooter, whether it's going to be hurt or anything. You're not going to see that handoff, just shoot the ball three. They're going to see a lot of off-ball movement, and maybe that's why you want to keep a Harrison Barnes. Maybe you keep Harrison Barnes heading into the season so that you can have a guy like Keegan Murray, who most see as a Harrison Barnes type of player, a Tobias Harris type of player, to just be under his wing for the first few months of the season and say, hey, Barnes, we'll trade you at the trade deadline. That makes sense to me too. That's an understandable approach for this still young team. I don't think they're moved closer to becoming a playoff team with this. I really don't. You see how stacked the West is becoming, especially at the top? The Nuggets giving up Will Barton to attract defense, to get an Ish Smith in that deal as well. They're going to get Jamal Murray back, Michael Porter Jr. back. Aaron Gordon already showed that he was really good next to Jokic. That team is just going to keep getting better. The Clippers are continuously getting better. To go get John Wall to add to that team, keeping Zubac. You're going to get Kawhi and PG back, and you got Norman Powell, and you got Rocco. That team's gotten better. The Warriors just won a championship. You would think that, I don't think this, but when you have LeBron James on your team, you have to at least acknowledge the fact that the Lakers are going to be competitive. I just don't know where the Kings move the needle in becoming a more competitive team, other than the fact that they added better players around their stars. That makes sense, which was three-point shooting, which is what you need on this team. So, yes, I do believe that Harrison Barnes, his value is probably pretty low in terms of what you can get in return. I think he would have to be a part of a package deal. That's why I think the Kings are going to hold on to him. And if I had to believe it, Johnny, Harrison Barnes is, as of this moment, and from everyone I've talked to, Harrison Barnes is going to be a part of the Sacramento Kings heading into next season. That was a long-winded answer for you there. TC says, Monte McNair is making moves, bro. I'll give him an A+. Let them do what he's doing. We're in a better position than what we were before. Look, I agree. I think in terms of roster construction, yes, the Sacramento Kings are definitely better for now than what they were a week ago, than what they were at the end of last season. They're better now than what they were then, for sure. I will definitely give you that. That is 100% true. The only thing about it is, though, is again, we haven't seen the type of offensive system that Mike Brown wants to bring into Sacramento. We haven't got to see really what is going to be Keegan Murray's role on this team. What is going to be Harrison's role? And again, I think there's going to be a competition. Again, this is for all you Malik Monk lovers that are still hating me on Twitter right now because I'm getting the notifications. Like, Malik Monk is not starting over Kevin Huerter. That's not a thing. That's not going to happen. Kevin Huerter is 6'7", and can shoot the ball and can handle the basketball. You also just gave up first-round picks and expiring contracts. You're not starting Malik Monk, who you only gave 2 years, $19 million to, your MLE money, over that. Now, is there a possibility that you do see lineups with a Fox, Monk, Huerter, Barnes, Sabonis? Yes, you could see that lineup. That lineup would be so much fun to watch. A lot of shooting, space and pace. That is a fun lineup to watch and observe. But no, absolutely not. That Malik Monk does not start over Kevin Huerter. And again, I think that they would prioritize defense over just scoring. And if you're going to go prioritize defense and size, obviously Fox, if Mike Brown can bring back that defensive dog that Fox was acknowledged to be coming out of college, coming out of high school, he was known to be that defender. You want him on the court, you're going to want Huerter at 6'7" to be able to adapt to being on the floor as a two guard, being able to guard. He's quick too. He has quick feet. He's just, I mean, we saw what was happening in Atlanta. He was kind of like a just garbage bag in the wind, blowing around out there. Harrison Barnes, good defender, and then Keegan Murray. He showed that he could play good defense. He's long. I still want to see if his defense translates over to the next level. But again, I think defense prioritizes over scoring. There's a lot of scoring in this league, and again, it's not like you're not going to see a lineup where you can see the two of them out there. That's just not. I just don't think you're going to have to worry about that. So, and yeah, I do give him an A+ so far. These are two really big moves that he made, only giving up an expiring and protected picks all the way down. I think that's something you have to applaud Monty McNair for too in this deal, to have every pick. And I misspoke. That 2026 pick that he would give up in this deal, if it goes out that far and the Kings are out of the lottery, it goes all the way to top 10 in 2026 protected, not top 6. So again, just to reiterate, Kings gave up Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, and a 2024 lottery-protected first-round pick to acquire Kevin Huerter. If that first-round pick does not convey to the Atlanta Hawks in 2024, it turns into top 12 protected in 2025. And then if that doesn't convey and the Kings are in the top 12, it turns into a top 10 protected in 2026. And if that does not happen at all, then it just turns into 2 second-round picks. Obviously, you're going to hope that the Kings fall out of the lottery at some point within those 3 years. But, I mean, I think that in itself, to have protections for 3 straight years on that pick and then have it convey into 2 seconds was a big win for Monty McNair in this deal as well. To just give up 2 expirings and then to get a guy who's going to be locked under contract for 4 years, a clear shooter, a clear need for this team, it made a ton of sense to me. I like that a lot. Danny Silva, what's next? You know, I think it's the waiting game. The Kings don't have much money. They can't go out and do too much more. But they do still have 2 assets. Now, here's the thing that I found out, and I said it at the top of the show, and I do appreciate everyone that has joined us here live on the Kings Court podcast. Richaun Holmes' value right now around the league is essentially at an all-time low. I haven't heard of any team really being interested in Richaun Holmes at all. Not a peep. There hasn't been anyone reaching out about Richaun. There hasn't been too much movement. I think his value as of right now would be a late second round pick. That's the hint I'm getting toward what is a Richaun Holmes interest at. And he's on a team friendly contract. I still like Richaun Holmes. Richaun Holmes as a starter on this team, top 5 in blocks, top 5 in field goal percentage, above 80% free throw shooter, great in pick and rolls, can guard a guard in a pick and roll set. Richaun Holmes makes sense on this team still. I think Richaun Holmes makes sense as a backup on this team. And it was clear that Mike Brown liked Richaun Holmes, especially when you got here. Richaun Holmes was at the press conference, front row sitting for the introduction of Mike Brown as the team's head coach. So let's not act as if because Richaun Holmes' value is so low, like he doesn't fit Sacramento anymore. Like, we can't forget what he did as a starter. He earned the money that he got. Richaun Holmes makes sense. The team I still think has interest in him, however, is going to be the Charlotte Hornets, especially even more so now after the news that broke about Miles Bridges. Montrezl Harrell, and just Mason Plumlee isn't that good. So that could still be your dark horse team to pay attention to. But I think as of right now, this is going to be the wait and see game for Sacramento. I think they need to wait and see what happens in any type of deal and if they can throw their name into any package. Again, if for those who are joining late, this is my idea of a trade. My idea. So I saw it on Twitter. It was a part of a Bryant West deal. They say, hey, at VM Center, you love making fake trades, and I do love it. I love the NBA trade machine so much that I had to put it in my bio on Twitter, which if you guys aren't following me, man, at VM Center, go give me a follow, please. And if you haven't done so already, hit that like button. I love that all of you guys are joining the conversation right now. But here's my idea, my fake trade idea for those who missed it. Let's say that Kevin Durant gets traded to the Phoenix Suns. Okay. The Brooklyn Nets are going full on Armageddon. They want to rebuild this entire team, obviously with Ben Simmons being at the forefront of that. Do you think they would want more picks, or do you think they would want a Mikal Bridges? Me personally, I think they're probably going to want more picks. Obviously, Mikal Bridges is going to be worth an early first-round pick. And when you're the Sacramento Kings, I think that the Sacramento Kings first-round pick is more valuable than any first-round pick in the entire NBA. That's how valuable a Kings first-round pick is. It's probably the most valuable first-round pick in the NBA because of the franchise and its history. So here's the deal. Kevin Durant go to the Phoenix Suns with Richaun Holmes. So it's Kevin Durant and Richaun Holmes to the Phoenix Suns. The Brooklyn Nets would get Harrison Barnes and 2 future first-round picks from the Sacramento Kings. Again, this is why I'd have to do my research into figuring out if you can trade a pick while it's under protection in a other deal. But it would be 2 future first-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets. And in return, the Nets would also get Harrison Barnes, DeAndre Ayton, and probably one of the Kings expirings or one of the Phoenix Suns expirings. And the Sacramento Kings would acquire Joe Harris and Mikal Bridges. So for the Kings, essentially it's Harrison Barnes, Richaun Holmes, and 2 first-round picks for Joe Harris and Mikal Bridges. That would be a deal that I think that they can throw their name out there and see if they can get that type of package going. I think that's the only way you're going to see Harrison Barnes on the move. That's the only way you're going to see Harrison Barnes on the move. I don't know if he brings back enough value to where you get another starting small forward that solidifies a role for Keegan Murray. And I think that is something that they're going to need to address. But at the same time, like I said just a few moments ago when I was talking to Johnny and answering his question, is maybe at this point, and again, this is what I truly believe. I think at this point it is Harrison Barnes coming back to Sacramento to be their starting small forward next season. I think that that's not a bad idea for Keegan Murray to be, I guess, shadowing Harrison Barnes and learning under Harrison Barnes up until the trade deadline. And depending on where the Kings are sitting in the standings, you make a decision on Harrison Barnes being on the final year of his contract and figuring out what you can get back in return for him. Because I think it's going to be more contenders that want a 30-year-old Harrison Barnes over any of these, young teams. Like, could a team like Dallas use him? Yeah, but what are they going to give up? Would you want a Bertans? Would you want to take on a Tim Hardaway Jr.? Yeah, but like that's just Kevin Huerter's role. He's not really your 3. So you're not going to get Dorian Finney-Smith in a Harrison Barnes deal. So that's where you need to kind of figure out what team is out there that can give you a plausible return for the Kings. And I don't think there's much value out there for him. And then again, from everyone I talked to, Richaun Holmes' value is probably like a late second-round pick right now. And I think he's a great backup for this team, so that's okay. Moving on to the next one here. What happens with Barnes going forward? No Collins. Again, I just answered that there. To be honest with you, I think Murray can guard threes and will play the 3. You don't honestly know what the guy can do, but with his size, length, and his IQ, he can get the job done. And that comes from TC. Shout out to you, TC. Yeah, look, I could be 100% wrong. I'm not out here telling you guys that I'm right and this is for sure happening and yada, yada, yada. That's not me. I'm not going to be that guy that says my word is gospel. I'm telling you guys this is 100%. Like, yeah, I'm not that guy. If I can be proven wrong, I would love to be proved wrong. But I've watched enough tape on Keegan Murray. And look, I'll be honest here too. And for those who watch this show and who hit that subscribe button and watch this show weekly, I was higher on Jaden Ivey than I was Keegan Murray. But with that being said, I know that Keegan Murray's defense is good. Keegan Murray does play really good defense. He likes to stay wide chested. He moves his feet very well. He has nice hips in terms of being able to shift. The thing is he doesn't have lateral quickness. So if any forward with the ability to push the ball in transition, and I honestly don't think he's that strong enough yet for that next level. It's going to be something that he has to develop. And again, that a year of development isn't a bad thing. You don't mind that with a player like Keegan Murray who can still come in right away, plug and play, just like Jay Billis said, and shoot 3-pointers and everything like that. But again, what three do you expect him to guard? Can he guard a Mikal Bridges? I don't think he has the lateral quickness to guard him. And Mikal Bridges, as good as he is, it's not like he's this offensive crazy player. I don't think he can guard a Kelly Oubre. That's where I'm having the difference. Do I think he can guard a Jay Crowder? Yes. Do I think he can guard a PJ Tucker? Yes. Those type of players? Yes. I do think he can do that. But and I do think it's going to be a starting lineup where you see Barnes and you see Keegan Murray together. I do think that's what the lineup that you're going to see. It's just, again, I at this point, I do believe that the Kings' mindset right now is keep Barnes. The team has already gotten better because we addressed the 3-point shooting. We're bringing in a defensive head coach. Defense is going to be a key development for this season, is developing their defense. And, Keegan showed promise being a defender. Let's see how he develops with the mentor of a Harrison Barnes, and that's the player that he kind of transitions into. And then let's see what we can get for a Harrison Barnes down the road. So can he guard threes? I hope I'm wrong. I don't see the lateral quickness or the ability to guard threes in this league. I think Harrison Barnes would be that small forward type of player in this positionless league now that is the NBA. He would be the guy that goes out and guards players on the perimeter. But again, when there's so much switching in the NBA, Keegan Murray's going to have to be ready. And we'll see if he's there. I like Keegan Murray. I think he does have high basketball IQ. I think that 3-point shooting is going to translate over. It's all about the defense. And honestly, I don't think that post game is going to be able to be here, but we'll see. We will see. I hope I really hope I'm proven wrong. Johnny said, I'd be happy with Holmes being a spark off the bench. Yeah, me too. I mean, that bench, think of this bench right now. Just if it was an 8-man rotation, it goes Fox, Huerter, Barnes, Murray, Sabonis, and then off the bench you got Mitchell, Monk, and Holmes. That's nice. It's tiny though. That's a tiny backcourt off your bench. Both guys are like 6'3". Both guys are like 6'3". Let's see. Ivan says the moves aren't enough to get us in the playoffs, but I think we're competitive for a play-in spot. Maybe. I just think the West is so stacked. I think we're starting to see the West start building back up. Do you remember like when the West you needed at least 40 wins to be in the playoffs? I think the West is moving back toward that again. Maybe. I don't see that even yet. I don't. But maybe. It says, if the defense can come together, this team could be dangerous. Yeah, 3-and-D. 3-and-D. This team could be really good. 3-and-D. Let's see. I thought that was real for a second. I read that for no reason. So it says, blah, blah, blah. If this team can, okay. This is from Javon Huggins. My guess is Keegan doesn't start. Ooh. That's a good one. My guess is Keegan doesn't start. Wow. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I really wouldn't. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. Keegan Murray doesn't start. But then who would you start? Would you start a who would you start in that place? I mean, I guess you can start a Metu, or do you do the Monk? You do the Monk Huerter starting, maybe. I don't know. Can you guys see that? I wonder if I can edit the font color here. Let's see if I can make that like white. There we go. There we go. Now I can start putting you guys on the broadcast here, so I'm just not here by myself. My guess is Keegan doesn't start. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a bold take. He'll be a good backup. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if you're talking about Keegan or what, but maybe. Let's see. Not Ben Simmons talk again. No. Not Ben Simmons to Sacramento. Just Ben Simmons staying as the key piece to the Brooklyn Nets' rebuilding process. That's about it. Not. There's no way the Kings are going after a freaking Ben Simmons right now. There's absolutely no way. Let's see. Kelly Oubre at small forward, maybe. I don't mind that. I mean, I was big on Kelly Oubre and any type of deal. The only thing is I mean, again, do you do Harrison Barnes for Kelly Oubre? Do you do Richaun Holmes for Kelly Oubre? Because I'll be honest, I like Richaun Holmes more than I like Kelly Oubre. That's just my personal opinion. I would rather have Richaun Holmes over Kelly Oubre. I would rather have discounted Kelly Oubre and Jeremy Lamb than Kelly Oubre. That's just me personally. If I can keep Richaun and I could go get Jeremy Lamb back, that's something that I would do. Shout out to everyone that's still watching. If you haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up button. Or if you guys don't like any of these takes, hit the thumbs down button. I see I got a couple of those as well. That doesn't mind anything to me either. Let's see what Javon said. Let's see who goes. He goes Fox, Monk, Huerter, Barnes, Sabonis. Look, man, that's what people are saying on Twitter. You guys are so mad at me because I say that Monk isn't a starter. I don't see him as a starter whatsoever. That's just me personally. I just don't see him as a starter. I don't think you go out and acquire a player that's been playing shooting guard since entering the league, a 6'7" shooter that makes sense next to De'Aaron Fox, and you go, no, we want him to come off the bench, and we want to start Monk. But Javon, you're saying you move Huerter to the 3. That man can't guard no threes. We've seen this isn't like a Keegan Murray where we don't know. We've seen what Huerter can do in these positions. When Hunter is out there guarding threes, they call switches so they can get Huerter on him. He can't guard that size. He can't guard that length. He can't do none of that. That's the difference. That's the difference. We've seen Huerter at the 3. It don't work. So I don't see him being a 3. More from Javon here. He says Holmes, Murray, Davion, Terrence Davis off the bench. That's solid. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if TD is a small forward. I don't know if TD is a small forward. That's the big thing for me. Murray is starting. Yeah. See that's what I think too. I think Murray is the starter. I would agree that I believe Murray is the starter. So, all right, guys. Again, I want to thank you guys all for joining. We're going to continue this conversation right after the commercial break. Shout out to our sponsor, RateCrushers.com and everything like that. I am going to go get a water bottle and everything. So please, we'll be back right after the break. Do not go anywhere as we continue the conversation of free agency, taking all of your guys' questions. And if you guys want to, we can continue taking phone calls. Again, I'll throw the link back in there. We have a ton of people watching us now. Again, if you guys haven't done so already, please help continue growing the show by sharing us on all your social media platforms, as well as, anywhere else you share stuff. And hit that thumbs up button. You guys, if you guys listen to podcasts, you guys can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, and anything like that. So again, thank you guys all so much. I'm going to go grab a cup of water real quick because I just finished my breakfast, which was my protein shake, and I will be right back after this break. Reunited, hey.
The Sacramento Kings have traded Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, and a future first-round pick to Atlanta for Kevin Huerter.
Reunited and it feels so good. Baby, reunited, understood. All right, what's going on, guys? Missed you. I was gone for just a second. Thank you guys for letting me go and get a drink of water. Again, thank you guys all for joining the conversation. I love that we're getting that mix right here, man. We got all the thumbs up. I appreciate all the thumbs up. We got a few thumbs downs. That means the conversation's growing, and I appreciate every single one of you. The ones that support it, the ones that decline it, because you're continuously growing the show. If you haven't done so already, what are you guys doing, man? What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, man. Hit that red button, because we do go live once every single week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Next week, we will be back live. This is our second show this week. We just had a show on Monday where I went over a few trade ideas heading into free agency. And then we are going to have a show next week with a very special guest. I have a few special guests as well. Some former players in the NBA that are now coaches in the NBA that are going to be joining. Maybe a coach that is on the Sacramento Kings right now, as well as some other beat writers that will be joining here on this show on the Kings Sport. So if you guys are new to the show and everything like that, and you want to check out our previous archives, again, subscribe here on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, and check out all of our previous interviews with people like Nancy Lieberman. Oh man, shout out RIP Sekou Smith. Man, we've just had plenty of guests here on the show. I've been doing this for a long time, man. It's so much fun. And now that we have this big old platform with me being guests on like Cowbell Kingdom and other like Locked On shows and things like that, like being guests on all these, I wouldn't have been able to do it without all of you guys watching and supporting. So I do highly appreciate it. And continue, please, sharing the show if you can. So back to the conversation and those who are joining us live now. The Sacramento Kings, as you saw from the Reunited song. I love that song. I love making that. Oh, yeah. Follow us on TikTok, man. TikTok at Sac Kings Nation. That's a whole lot of fun. I'll do this for about like 15 more minutes. And then I'll probably hop off the air now. There's a Woj tweet. And it looks like we have some more breaking news in terms of just free agency. If I can get this thing popping up here. So we got some breaking news from Woj out of free agency. Free agent center Kevin Looney is returning to the Golden State Warriors on a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. That's coming to us from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Derek Jones Jr. has agreed to a 2-year, $6.6 million deal to return to the Chicago Bulls. That was someone I thought that the Kings would definitely be circling and keeping their eyes on just as that defensive wing. But after snagging Keegan Murray and still having Harrison Barnes on the roster, that makes a ton of sense. If you guys already missed this news, but you probably didn't because it was so big, the Boston Celtics have acquired Malcolm Brogdon from the Indiana Pacers. Big move there. In that deal, they gave up Nick Stauskas, Malik Fitz, and Juwan Morgan, as well as Daniel Tice and Aaron Nesmith with a 2023 first-round pick. So they got to keep Grant Williams. I thought that they were really going to go heavy after Grant Williams. I'm surprised that they didn't get Grant Williams in that deal. Wow. Good on Boston. Boston made a real team for sure. They're looking good. I like that deal a lot for the Boston Celtics. Big stuff going on. I want to hear from you guys. Let's continue this. Let's continue the conversation down in the chat. If you guys, like I said, if you haven't done so already, start joining down low in the chat section. Let us know what you guys are thinking of this team, what you guys are thinking of these moves, and if there's anything else that you'd want to see. What is your thoughts? So just to reiterate here one last time on what I think is going to happen with the Sacramento Kings moving forward. I do believe it's going to be a wait-and-see game for Sacramento at this point. I do believe you're going to see a lot of posturing for the Kings to see if they can throw their name in any other trade, because they only had the MLE to really work with in this offseason. That's all they really had to be able to work with to get a deal done. So for them to be able to get any other moves to be made, it's going to have to be via trade. They gave up $19 million to to Malik Monk to acquire him, and then they just gave up 2 expiring contracts of the 4 that they had to acquire Kevin Huerter. Now, the big thing is they did have all of their future picks. Now, that's why I need to do my research, and I don't want to speak out of turn when I say, they at least can still throw in picks in different deals. But the fact that they own all of their picks, I think, is huge for them, and I think will play a huge factor in any trade that they do make. Like for example, I do think that if a Harrison Barnes trade is to be had, it'll include a pick, and they'll get someone that can fit right away, or it'll be a package with like a Richaun Holmes and a Harrison Barnes. So I wouldn't want to do Harrison like that. Trading him to a rebuilding team, he needs to go to a contender. The thing is, though, he's only on a 1-year deal. So I'm guessing I'm assuming that you're talking about the deal I made for Harrison Barnes to go to the Brooklyn Nets in a 3-team deal for him to go to Phoenix. I mean, he would still kind of be in the same exact role that he would be now, right? They would have Ben Simmons, they'd have DeAndre Ayton, they would still have Seth Curry. They would still have essentially their team based on just the Kevin Durant deal. And let's say they haven't done a Kyrie deal yet. I mean, it would be Kyrie, Seth, Barnes, Simmons, and Ayton. I mean, that's arguably still already a better team, and he's out east, arguably easier to get into the playoffs over the Sacramento Kings in the West, at least to play in at that point, right? And then if it's an expiring, what could be done at the trade deadline then? Because I think Kevin Durant, if he does get traded, it's going to be over the summer, not during the season. That's just a personal opinion. So I don't think it's doing him dirty. I really don't. I don't think it would be anything bad on looking to trade him in that type of deal. I really don't. Let's see here. This little chat section is very confusing to use. It is not the best to continue to move down the list of questions. I'm trying to get to all of them. Let's see. Sincere says Fox, Monk, Barnes, Murray, and Sabonis. Nah, man, I got Huerter starting over Monk. You don't trade a first-round pick, your 2 expirings, to throw a guy who's making 4 years, 65 off your bench. I just don't see that happening. At all. What do you think we will do with the last roster spot? I think we target a backup wing. I mean, we have to. The Kings are going to have to do it. That's the number one thing I continue to ask is, like, if you look at every position, you can go Fox, Mitchell. You can go Huerter, Monk. You're going to go Barnes, blank. Can you go get Jeremy Lamb back? Maybe. Can you go get TJ Warren back? But can you go get TJ Warren? Maybe. It's just the Kings don't have too much money. That's the problem. And then you can go Murray, Metu. I like Metu. I really do. I like Metu. I think he showed improvement every time we've got to see him. I'm a Metu fan. I think Metu's game is okay. I think Metu is what you were hoping you would get if you would go after a Derrick Jones Jr. And again, I like Chimezie Metu. So yeah, it would have to be a wing. Skip, it would have to be a wing. Skip! And then that's where we get to the Fox Barnes. I know there's more questions up there. I'm trying to get this chat section to work here more. I'm learning more and more about this system that we have. Again, if you guys want to join the conversation, you're more than welcome to. Go ahead and hit in on that link that I just put into the chat, and you guys are more than welcome to try and join in on the conversation. It's easier if I just go here. I'm fine with Murray starting. I think Murray is the starter. Monk and Murray off the bench is nice. Monk and Murray off the bench would be nice. I do think that would be a fun thing to see. It's just, look, I don't even think that it's Murray's job yet. So even if I say that I have Murray as the starter, I don't necessarily believe that that's even going to be what happens. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if the Kings went in a completely different direction, and it's not that different from the norm for them. They didn't start De'Aaron Fox drafting him number 5. They didn't start Marvin Bagley drafting him number 2. They didn't start Davion drafting him number 8. It's not like the Kings to start a rookie that they just drafted. I think it's a spot that that's going to have to be earned. And hey, what if this is the starting lineup, guys? We haven't even talked about it yet. What if this is the starting lineup? What if the starting lineup is Fox, Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Domantas Sabonis, and Richaun Holmes? Do I like that? Do I think that makes the most sense? No, I do not. But what if that's the starting lineup? That's not the worst idea either for the Sacramento Kings. I mean, you can run a wing set off of that. You can run a horns offensive set off of that, I should say. You get nice defense down low where if there's anyone that's getting beat out on the perimeter, you know that you're going to have Holmes right there to clean that up and to be the backup to Domantas Sabonis. The only problem is in that it's just going to be kind of like the Miles Turner and Sabonis thing when we had the Indy Star writer on, James Boyd, talking about, there was a clog a lot of the times between Turner and Sabonis. But I think that the big thing there was that Turner thought he was a more offensively polished player and wasn't able to get the ball enough. So maybe that's like a big issue there. If Sabonis can hit threes, I don't mind seeing Holmes as a starter. I really don't. Because then I wouldn't mind if the Kings can find a way to clear cap. I wouldn't mind the Kings going after a guy like Thomas Bryant as your backup big. I like Thomas Bryant a lot. I really do. I like Thomas Bryant a lot. Sorry, guys, as I'm looking up notes here. But what are your guys' thoughts on that lineup right there? Fox, Huerter, Barnes, Sabonis, and Holmes. Holmes being back into the starting lineup. Being back in the position that he thought he had already. Does it make a ton of sense? No. I will say this, though. While I don't expect that to be a starting lineup for the team, I do expect to see a lot more experiments with Fox or with Sabonis and Holmes. I do think the Kings experiment with that a lot more than what we got to see last season once he was acquired. Because we got to remember, this is the thing with Holmes too. Holmes had a very roller coaster year personally, as just not just a player, just personally. I mean, first he gets injured, he had the eye thing, right? Then he comes back, then he gets COVID, comes back, and then I believe it was his cousin passes away. Comes back again, then it's the knee, and then they trade for Sabonis. I mean, there's just it's just something that's there. You know what I mean? It was something that really put Holmes, just set him backwards. And then on top of that, you got rid of Tyrese Halliburton, who was a point guard that looked for the passes on. He just looked for the passes on any type of pick and roll. That was his guy. That. There's an argument to be made that just Halliburton made Holmes look better, and that's a real conversation. But again, I think and look, Skip says it good right here. This is great because this is exactly what I'm thinking whenever I talk about lineups. Is we don't know what type of offense Mike Brown is going to bring to the Sacramento Kings. What type of deal is he going to bring here? Guys, we have done this show for over an hour. I appreciate every single one of you that has joined the conversation today. We've had close to 200 people viewing this show today. And with this being an hour show, to have our average time be close to 12 minutes, that is just amazing. So I truly appreciate all of the support from you guys. And the conversation and keeping the conversation going and joining us in the chat and giving you guys' thoughts and hitting the thumbs up button. If you guys haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up button. Or if you guys didn't like the take, there's a couple of you that didn't like any of the takes today. You guys hit that thumbs down button. I understand. I get it. I'm not gonna always assume that I'm right. I'm just gonna always tell you my honest opinion. And that's what. If I had to go all Draymond Green, that's that new media. That's that new media. Honest takes. Real takes. Talking basketball. Again, thank you guys all for subscribing and hitting that thumbs up button. And again, for all of your guys' support. If you haven't done so already, please do me a huge favor. Subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you guys watch or view your podcasts. If you have it on iTunes, leave us a rating, leave us a review. That's how we continue to grow up the iTunes charts. Follow me on all social media platforms. I've been your host today. My name is Vince Miracle. You guys can follow me at VM Center, which you guys can see right here. This show has been brought to you by RateCrushers.com. Everyone go to RateCrushers.com, whether it's motorcycle, car, or any type of insurance that you need. The agents over at RateCrushers.com have you guys covered. This has been such a fun show. I appreciate all of you guys for joining us live. And until next time, Sacramento Kings fans, NBA Kings fans,